They're now ready to be anointed from their basement bunkers. They can't hide. They're going to campaign. No, they're not. Apparently, they're not going to meet with the voters. They certainly aren't going to answer any questions from their adoring cult fans and propaganda wing. That would be the mob and the media. Take a look.
Postal Service tying it to mail-in voting. What do you think about that?
Pure Trump.
Okay, guys, let's go. Let's go. Come on.
He doesn't want an election.
Okay, let's go. You guys, come on. Let's go.
Okay.
Come on, guys. Let's go. You guys, let's go. Come on.
All right, senior Washington correspondent Jeff Zeleny is joining me now. Couple notes, Jeff. One, not a whole lot of questions from reporters there. I mean, we keep pressing the Biden campaign. There needs to be more questions from reporters. We know that.
Yeah, maybe two pressers with, in the teleprompter, I'm supposed to go to Joe now. Yeah, in 140 days, two? Really? Are they going to debate? Or are they going to try and duck that too? Why bother? The mob and the media, they're already fawning over Kamala Harris. And, of course, they love Joe. They don't call him out on anything. The New York Toilet Paper Times called her a pragmatic moderate. That is another lie by the New York Toilet Paper Times. Georgie Stephanopoulos, Clinton hack turned make-believe journalist over at Fake News ABC. He's spreading the same BS. Take a look.
Kamala Harris comes from the middle-of-the-road moderate wing of the Democratic Party, not the first choice of progressives, but Joe Biden banking that this historic move as the first woman of color on a national ticket will overcome that.
That's not true either. The mob and the media, now 99% state-run Democratic socialist fake news. But, yeah, totally moderate. That would be except for her real voting record. 2019, for example. She's to the left of Bolshevik Bernie Sanders, along with her vow to, confiscate guns and via executive fiat and order. And her support of, Medicare for all with zero chance of you having your own health care provider. No choice. I thought liberals were pro-choice. Then her sponsorship of the new Green Deal. She was a co-sponsor in the U.S. Senate, and the plan to ban fracking. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. You watching this? Limit, by the way, ban straws, limit red meat. That's all moderate, sure. I see Georgie hasn't changed since his days of trying to bully reporters into not publishing stories about Bill Clinton's affairs. George Stephanopoulos, nothing but a far-left political hack masquerading as a journalist. And ABC News, well, they're not telling you the truth, and they're not alone. Naturally, some of Kamala Harris's biggest cheerleaders, they work for fake news CNN, and they're fake. Here's what their vetting process looks like over there. Take a look.
I think she gave a very powerful speech, and if there is any doubt that Kamala Harris is not going to be able to go on the attack, as vice presidential candidates usually do, that was erased today.
I thought Kamala Harris gave a fantastic speech. She absolutely nailed it. Her ability, I think, to show this tremendous range, a personal side of her.
Look, I mean, it was a beautiful speech. Both of them. They strengthen each other. I think if you're going to give a headline today, it would be Hope Reborn.
It's as though she was saying them from the mountaintop as opposed to, just a high school gymnasium there. And I think that the ease in which they worked together was very apparent.
Well, because that's the exact opposite when she only got, less than 2% in the primary. And she did memorize her attack lines well, and she delivered them and called Joe Biden pretty much a racist. So you got Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. They're running for the highest office in the land. Yeah, there would be critical questions that the mob needs to ask Joe and Kamala. They've got to answer. Just today, Biden announced a plan to impose a federal mask mandate. Apparently, he wants every American wear a mask anytime you step outside of your home. Now, I've been very outspoken. I'm all for Americans voluntarily wearing masks when it's crowded and you can't socially distance. As a matter of fact, I said anecdotally, it worked at the supermarket I went through at the epicenter of all this in the midst of the worst moments in New York. Not one person got corona, or the Rite Aid I would go to, or CVS, because they had masks and plastic. Anecdotally, they work. And guess what? We're going to have mask police next? What? Well, next they say after Operation Warp Speed of President Trump, and we're now in final stage trials for a vaccine, we're going to mandate that? I would say that's up to people to decide. They get to choose. Will the Biden administration be handing out fines or arresting people who don't comply with their mandates that are apparently universal? Are they universal? What about jogging outdoors? What about swimming in the ocean or on a beach? What about those who work outdoors? What about professional sports athletes? Does the first baseman have to is that socially distant enough from the second baseman and the shortstop or third baseman? What about people eating at a restaurant or eating outdoors? Are any of these questions ever going to be answered? Well, even asked. Now, this is just one issue that must be addressed. In fact, during the primaries, it was Senator Harris raising numerous serious concerns. I think she memorized her lines and delivered them quite well when she confronted, the ever-forgetful Joe, the corrupt Joe, about his work with segregationists and opposing integration and so much more. We'll remind you.
On the Hyde Amendment, Vice President, where you made a decision for years to withhold resources to poor women to have access to reproductive health care, and including women who were the victims of rape and incest. Do you now say that you have evolved and you regret that? Because you've only, since you've been running for president this time.
I believe them, and I respect them being able to tell their story and having the courage to do it.
Do you believe that the vice president should enter this race?
He's going to have to make that decision for himself. I wouldn't tell him what to do.
The issue of lynching is part of the stain on America's history.
He apologized this morning on Twitter, saying I should not have used those words. Do you accept that apology?
I think that that's right for him to apologize, yes. You also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Wow. Kamala has evolved. Election year conversion, I guess you might say. Also, Kamala Harris also believed Joe Biden's accusers. Apparently, during the primary, she sympathized with all the women that Joe made really uncomfortable with his creepy groping and touching and hugging. Remember all of this, Kamala?
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again.
And we're not even showing you the really creepy moments with younger people. Kamala, did you forget about that? Do you no longer care about this conduct? Did you evolve, as you say? I think you just used the words, evolving. What about Biden's work with segregationists to slow school integration? Remember, he worked with the former Klansman, the guy that actually filibustered the historic Civil Rights Act and didn't support the Voting Rights Act. And guess what? Your BFF partnered with the former Klansman because Joe Biden didn't want his children to grow up in a racial jungle if his kids went to integrated schools. You just no longer care that Biden was close to the former Klansman, praised the former Klansman, worked with the former Klansman on something like integration. You talked about that in that debate moment you had with Joe. What about principle? What about his comment, you can't go to a 7-Eleven or Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent? Well, and I'm not joking, he said. What about his recent comments suggesting that African Americans are all the same, or you ain't black, or poor kids are just as smart as white kids? Okay, really? Kamala? Is the mob in the media? You going to ask these questions? Are you that desperate, in this case, to be vice president of the United States that we'll just forget all about all this? Of course, this isn't just about Senator Harris. It's about everyone in the mob and the media. They refuse to vet Joe Biden. We will do their job as we always do. And today, the president, he answered dozens of questions like he almost does on a daily basis from a hostile press corps, a cult that is psychotic in their hatred of him. So ask yourself, why doesn't Joe Biden, why doesn't Kamala Harris answer questions? Where's their lengthy press conference? Now, my guess is they're going to show up for a fluffy interview on fake news CNN. They're going to show up on conspiracy TV, MSDNC. That's where they'll show up, probably nowhere else. Are they going to show up for the debates? Are they not capable of the tough questions? Go on with Chris Wallace. Go on with, well, anybody that will ask you a tough question. Anyway, what are they hiding? Is it that they're radical, out-of-touch socialist positions, maybe? Is it Joe Biden's racist rhetoric? Is it that Kamala Harris's terrible record as a prosecutor? Is it Joe Biden, what was an obvious, well, lack of strength and stamina and mental acuity, mental alertness? Because I think the answer might be all the above. And in 82 days, the American people got to make an important choice. And before the first debate, 16 states begin early voting.